Hey everybody, what's going on? It's been a while since we released an episode, but just wanted to let y'all know that we're going full force with this, at least for this week. We got 3 episodes lined up, and I'm super excited to release them. Today on the show, we have our guest, the wonderful and amazing Angelica Mcdonald, founder and wedding planner extraordinaire of the freshly rebranded Angelica Rose Events. Enjoy the convo. This episode is sponsored by Indie March Film. For those who don't know, Indie March or IFP is actually one of my first few companies that we started. We are the digital media agency that makes everything here we do at Dabble Radio possible. As always, give us a follow on all our social at Indie March Film. That's INDIEMARCH Film on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Show us some love. Thank you all for listening to Dabble Radio. Today I have with me Angelica Mcdonald from Angelica Rose Events.
Hey, Kenny. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a perfect way to start our Monday off by hanging out with you, so thank you. So I'm Angelica of Angelica Rose Events. I actually just recently rebranded 2 weeks ago, which was terrifying and exciting all at the same time. Prior to being Angelica Rose Events, we were Green Orchid Events, and Green Orchid Events was around for 11 years. I started with the prior owner, Juliet, back in 2007. And she honestly took a huge leap of faith on me. I had no wedding experience. And so she had just started Green Orchid and needed an assistant. And so we actually met interning at through TISO, which is the International School of Hospitality here in Las Vegas, which really gave me my kickstart into weddings. So that's where I met Juliet. I interned one wedding with her, and then from there she hired me. And then I grew to just assist her on weddings, and then to wedding day coordination, doing weddings on my own. And then it got to a point where she kind of lost her passion for weddings, but still wanted to own the company. So all the leads became mine, but she was still the owner. That worked great for a couple years. And then it got to a point where she owned a company she wasn't profiting from, because by the time she paid all of us and all the business stuff, so it didn't make sense. So she approached me and she was like, hey, I'm either going to sell or you could buy. And I remember, I think we were at a restaurant, and I started instantly crying because one, I didn't want her to leave me, and two, I was terrified. Owning a company was never something I thought I would do or something I dreamt of, but I quickly thought, like, how do I want my life to look like the next 5 to 10 years? And I have a little girl, so she was in the back of my mind. So I quickly thought, I was like, okay, well, I could go work for a venue or somewhere, but then have no life because the hours are crazy, or I could buy this business and rock it out and make my own hours. So that's what I did. So I kept at Green Orchid for 3 years and just kind of got settled into learning how to be a business owner. Weddings weren't new to me, but the business side definitely was. Who knew there were that many taxes out there? And so I kind of hit the 3-year mark, and within that 3 years, Green Orchid really changed once I bought it. Our type of clients changed, the budgets we were seeing changed, the designs our clients were wanting changed, and so I just felt like there was this huge disconnect between Green Orchid Events and the weddings we were producing. It just didn't fit anymore. So I decided to change the company name to my name, and we're 2 weeks in, and so far so good.
How did you differentiate between the creative side of being a wedding planner and the business side?
Oh, that was quite a juggle while being a mother to a toddler at the same time. I always had a passion for weddings, so that part still was very fluid and easy, but I really had to get more strict when it came to certain things about being a business owner. So just learning that discipline of making time to do the ugly business admin stuff at least one day a week, and then having fun and focusing on the pretty stuff the rest of the time.
Right, the not so fun stuff, the admin stuff.
Blogging, just everything, taxes, all that stuff.
Right. So when you realize a lot of that, how did you prioritize your schedule? Like, did you prioritize it in a sense where it's like Monday was admin day, Tuesday was blog day? How did you do in terms of that for other creators out there that are looking to prioritize their schedule?
So it's definitely still a work in progress. every Sunday before I go into the new week, I sit with myself and also my husband, because again, we have a child, and we kind of figure out like, okay, where is she gonna go? Who's gonna watch her? Luckily, she's in school now, so that has helped my calendar a lot. But there's certain days of the week where I won't take meetings because I need those to be days I'm strictly in the office working on emails and weddings. And then there's days that I will make sure that I'm out of the office, out and about, meetings, networking events, those types of things. A huge goal of mine when buying the business, because I had done it for so many years, was I wanted to make sure I wasn't working till 2, 3 in the morning, because I did that for so many years, and I was no good to my clients, I was no good to my husband and to my daughter. So just maximizing my time during the day is super important. And something I do, and this may sound like a little excessive, but it works for me, is throughout the day I set alarms for myself. So I'll be like, okay, I'm going to work on this wedding for an hour and an hour only, because it's so easy to lose track of time. I could spend all day on one wedding. So I'll be like, okay, I'm going to do, this, and this for this wedding in 1 hour. So I'll have my alarm go off in an hour as a reminder and be like, okay, time to move on to the next task. So that's been super helpful for me.
That's awesome. So you set out a block of time.
I block out every day, like in hour to couple hour increments. I'll even set like an alarm, like, okay, get up, like stretch your legs out, or it's time for lunch, or because I don't think I was maximizing my days enough.
Right.
Again, I would spend so much time dwelling on one wedding that I still had all these other weddings to do tasks for. So blocking out the day like that, it just helps me.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with that is like my biggest focus is always like the unprepared goes to the unmotivated, right? Because if you're not writing down your schedule, if you're not blocking out time, you're essentially dwelling on these things for 2-3 hours and you're not getting anything done.
And before I know it, it's 5 o'clock and I have to get my daughter from school and cook dinner and spend some time with the family. And especially I work from home. So that's a discipline in itself, because it's like, oh, my bedroom's down the hall, my kitchen's downstairs. So having that discipline, like this is my office, and I'll do little things to help me with that too. So even though I work from home often, I make sure to get up, get dressed, do my makeup, so I feel productive. I'm like, I'm in an office, because trust me, there are days I work in pajamas with no makeup on. You'll never see that, but that helps.
No, absolutely. And I think for a lot of the listeners out there that don't know, like Vegas for 4 month of span, it's super hot, right? To the point where it's just like, you don't want to go anywhere.
No. Like, I mean, there's no way you can't bribe me to go out there.
Right. It's crazy. So how did you what turned you on into weddings? Like, how did you gather that passion for it? And how did you develop that fire?
Yeah, so I was actually going to school to be a news anchor. I always wanted to be a news anchor. So I started going to school for broadcast journalism, which is so funny because you couldn't pay me to report the crummy news we hear daily. So I kind of faded with that, and it's just something I've always loved and been passionate about is parties. Even from like a young child, like I've always loved themes and the smallest intricate details. Like I always loved overthinking and creating ideas for that. And so while going to school for broadcast journalism, I had recently found that UNLV launched a sister school called the International School of Hospitality. And that's where I was able to get certified in wedding planning. Now, do you have to be certified in wedding planning? No, but I feel like that school gave me an incredible foundation of what it takes to be a wedding planner, because I definitely went into it with starry eyes. I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna be a wedding planner. And I'm like, oh no, there's actually work involved with this. So that school is what gave me the foundation and helped me introduce a lot of people and connections I made, experiences. We were required to have an internship, so we got to intern on actual weddings.
That's cool.
So by the time, I loved it, and I still love it. So that's what kind of helped me launch.
So how many people were in that class of yours?
Oh my gosh, I can't even remember. Not even, maybe 6 to 8.
Oh, wow.
Their classrooms are pretty small.
Okay. And just to kind of give a broad scopes, out of those 6 to 8, when you were in school, how many are still doing this today?
Good question. So actually, I don't think there's anyone from my class that's doing anything wedding related right now. But there's definitely some big names in the industry that are doing incredible things and still very proactive that have came from TISO.
Oh, wow.
So that's good. So in whole, TISO has produced a lot of incredible businesses that are thriving right now. But from my class specifically, no.
Isn't that crazy? It's like, so how do you thrive as a wedding planner in this industry when there's so many people that are trying to get into it?
It's really hard. So it's funny, when Green Orchid events started, there wasn't a lot of planners. There was not a lot of wedding planners at all. And now, and I always tease, it's because of TISO, they birth all these wedding planners and they're great. So I feel like my experience helps a lot, keep me afloat and everything. But yeah, there's a lot more wedding planners than what there was back in the day.
That's wild. And what are some of your personal magic, some of your personal touch that you put into wedding planning and make you so successful?
So I love first of all, I don't like just sitting around like checking a box. Like we have flowers, check. You have a venue, check. We need to thoroughly dive into each aspect of the wedding and truly make it who the couple is. So when you plan a wedding with me, like, get ready to be my best friend, because we're going to talk all the time. We're going to text all the time, in-person meetings, because I really want to get to know who the couple is. I mean, I always say, like, I'm going to ask you a series of nosy questions, but there's a reason why I'm asking, what your home looks like or what your favorite restaurant is, because all those elements are going to play into the couple's wedding day. And throughout the planning process, I'm constantly having things like, oh, this would be perfect for this couple. So I think those personal touches when planning are what the guests are going to remember.
That's such great tips. It's like the added details that you include within your service, and it's not even about the service itself. It's about like ingraining your personality and your details to the couple, right? That's what makes it successful.
Absolutely. I always say, like, their guests have been to a wedding, but they've never been to their wedding. So what is their takeaway going to be? We want them to be like, that wedding was so John and Sally, and not, I've seen that a million times. So that's why it's super important we get to know our couples at heart, so all those touches are reflective of who they are. Right,
and I love that. And I think even a few weeks ago when you were doing your rebranding, it's been 2-3 weeks, right?
Yeah, 2 weeks now.
Even with those 2-3 weeks, when you were starting to do your PR stunt, in a sense where you were giving out the rose-colored glasses.
Yes, that was so much fun.
And it's like, talk about that. Like, how did you, like, and I actually have the sunglasses in my car. I still wear it.
I love it. Kenny rocks the rose for me.
Because they are really good glasses, but it's like, how far, like, in advance did you think of that? And like, how did you get the details to, like, I want to pull this PR stunt and get everybody in Vegas rocking it?
Well, thank you, first of all, for your kind words. And I have to be honest, that was a very last minute thought. And it was actually my plan B. So my problem, or a flaw of mine, I should say, is that I'm very much perfection over progress. So I'll sit on something and dwell and dwell and dwell. And then before I know it, it's like a couple days before, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it hasn't been done yet. And so that kind of happened in this situation. So my plan A was actually to send like these beautiful luxury boxes with like a bottle of rosé in it. So then I learned, first of all, you have to have a liquor license to ship liquor. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And then it was like $1 gazillion to ship a box. So I'm like, okay, I love these people, but come on. So then I was like, you know what? Stop overthinking it. Let's have fun with it. Let's do something different, because I feel like a bottle of rosé for Angelica Rose is very typical. And so I feel like one of my strengths is that I'm a very positive, bubbly person. And so I felt like the saying, like, seeing life through rose-colored glasses is very much representative of me and my outlook on life. And so I bought rose-colored aviators in bulk and sent it out to 105 people in the wedding industry. And it worked. It worked great, because I got my point across with the name change, because I needed to make sure people knew this name change was coming, because again, Green Orchid was an 11-year established company. This is quite a big change. I needed people to be ready and not just wake up and be like, who's Angelica Rose Events? And it's great because I gave everyone a call to action, like, it's time to see the world through rose-colored glasses. Please wear these glasses on the day I launch, and either post, a selfie or a boomerang. And my gosh, the response, I was not ready. I was completely overwhelmed with love and laughter, and our industry is incredible, and they killed the rose-colored glasses for me. They represented strong.
Yeah, I think your Instagram story, Gabe, was like, when you see people post too many stories, it was like ...
I was getting there. I was like 4 rose gold shades away from being too much.
But it was great. Like, I loved seeing all the feedback that you receive within everyone that wore it. It's like, what was some of your personal favorites?
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know if you, I mean, everyone's my favorite. First of all, the fact that people just took the time to post a photo. And I know some people are very shy when it comes to posting on their Insta stories or Instagram. So just the fact that even the ones I know are shy and kind of introverted posted. But I don't know if you saw, but someone did the Kiki challenge in my honor, and they wore the rose-colored glasses while doing the Kiki challenge, like literally car moving outside. That was incredible.
I saw that. And that's why I wanted to bring that up.
Yes. So yeah, DJ Vin for the win with the Kiki challenge.
Oh my gosh. So what are you gonna do with all the videos? Like, where is that all gonna live?
So I saved them all. I'm actually so the new website's up. I'm currently revising the blog. So I would love to do a blog post and just have like a big collage of everyone in their rose-colored glasses. So I did save every single photo and video.
That's amazing. It's
Yes.
like, just the genuine feedback from the community. I think that's what the wedding community in Vegas is so great. It's like we all support each other.
It was incredible. Well, and I wanted to make sure to get my point that I wouldn't be anywhere without all these people I sent the glasses to. So it's literally because of the people that wore those glasses that I am at where I'm at. So
Right.
I needed to remind them, like, I couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much. So
Yeah, let's talk about some tech stuff, because I know when we were talking, you were definitely like allergic to building the website.
oh my gosh,
Right.
I think I lost 5 pounds, which maybe I should build websites more often. My gosh, that was overwhelming. So I admit I was a huge hypocrite when it came to the website, because I went into it like, I got this, I got a template, this YouTube video is telling me what to do, it's gonna be perfect. Yeah, right. I was drowning in those templates, and I'm like, what? And so literally, I want to say it was 12 days exactly to launch.
Wow.
The website still wasn't done, Kenny. I hate to even say this out loud. Like, I promise
okay.
I'm not a procrastinator when it comes to wedding planning, but when it came to my business, I was. And so I reached out to this lovely girl named Ashlyn, who is starting like a web design company. She went to school for this, and she's new. And I call her my web angel. So I just reached out, and I was like, this is what I need done by this date. Can you do it? And she's like, yeah, it can be done. And literally the final touch was done that Monday. I launched at 6 a.m. I launched at 6:30 a.m.
Wow.
But it got done. But yeah, I bit off way more than I could chew. And like I mentioned, I was a hypocrite because DIY is the last thing I preach to any of my couples, or anyone for that matter. And so, yep, insert foot in mouth, I learned my lesson.
And I think the thing with that is, like, it's not really, I don't really see it as hypocrisy, but it's like as business owners, we're so accustomed to putting 150%
Yeah.
towards somebody else. But when it comes to our
Absolutely.
own stuff,
Oh, yeah.
right, it always kind of like, oh, well, we'll kind of get it done.
Yeah.
Right.
And it never got done.
Right. But like, it looks great.
Thank you.
And I'm super excited to be one of the first people to like actually email you with the new
You
one.
were my first email.
Really?
You never forget your
Oh
first.
my
So
gosh.
Kenny, I'll never forget you. That was the sweetest. Yes, you were the first person that hit my inbox under Angelica Rose events.
That's awesome, because I think I do. It's like, I think people are still gonna be like
Yeah.
towards the new stuff, right?
Oh yeah, it's still a work in progress. All the little stuff I have to do behind the scenes still, like transferring emails and bank account stuff, and even logins.
wow.
I don't realize how many things I log into with my work email address. So just little tedious tasks that I have to work out. But aesthetically, it's all done and out there.
Yeah.
So.
It's wild. Let's talk about something fun. Let's talk about like wedding trends.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do
Wedding
you
trends.
Where do you see wedding trends going in like 2019?
Yeah, so I actually have a love-hate relationship with the word trend, because for me, when planning a wedding, I want to create something timeless. I want to create something that the couple's going to look back in 10, 15 years and still love it. So I try not to get too trendy with my weddings, but yes, every wedding has a trend to it. What I see coming for 2019 is just, I want to say uniqueness. I feel like my couples are really taking a stance, like, this is our wedding, this is how we want it done. And again, they're not just like looking through a magazine and looking at the magazine's checklist of what needs to be done. They're really putting thought and love into each part of their wedding. Something I see coming that I've started experiencing this year is grooms are really caring what they're wearing. I feel like even more so than the bride. Like, I've received more pictures of like my grooms and fittings than I have my brides
Really?
lately. And yeah, they're taking it seriously. So custom fitted suits for them, and jackets lined with engagement photos, and custom pocket squares with
Whoa.
a monogram on it. So these grooms are caring, and I like it, because I feel like grooms are kind of always an afterthought. I'm like, no, they need to shine just as much as the bride.
Right, and I think a lot of that too is with the explosion of Instagram, with the
Yeah,
explosion of digital, like
absolutely.
more people are just like aware of everything that they're doing. In terms
Yeah.
of the wedding, it's like I think every wedding tries to like one up each other,
Oh,
right?
for sure. Well, yeah, I mean, we're so lucky to have so many platforms that inspire us daily. I mean, because I know I'll see something on Instagram and I'll screenshot it. I'll be like, I have to do this design for a bride one day. So imagine how the brides are. And that's what I thank God I didn't get married in this time. I got married in 2008. Like Pinterest wasn't around, Instagram wasn't around. So yeah, it has to be overwhelming to the brides. And at the same time, it makes it easier.
So with your clients, do you feel that they're more excited because they can see everything, like they can put a lookbook together, they can put a mood board, versus
Yeah.
anxiety? Like where's the difference between being anxious to
Yeah.
to go over these details versus being super excited to like I want to do this?
Yes. What's nice about most of my clients is, so first of all, a lot of the brides, they're not the brides that were like, I've dreamt of my wedding since I was a little girl. A lot of them, they're career-driven women.
Okay.
It's rare I do weddings that are 20-something-year-olds anymore. So there's 30-something established women. So they care more about the details, and they do want something more custom to them, not that's been done a million times. What's also nice about a lot of my clients is they give me the freedom to create and design something for them, and then I present them the idea, and it's either a yay or a nay.
Okay.
Which is great, but it's still like much a team effort between me, the florist, the couple. So I always say it takes a village to raise a child and plan a wedding, and that's very much the case.
Right, and it's like it's such an inclusive thing where it's inclusive, but it's crazy in the sense where there's over sometimes 200 people, but
Yeah.
it feels like one big family, right? Where you're essentially talking to, especially on your end, you might be talking to the maid of honor or the best man, and there's so much details that are involved, and it's like this wasn't like this 10 years ago.
No,
Right.
it wasn't. It's definitely, even like I'll say Pinterest, for example. I have Pinterest boards where there's like 4 or 5 collaborators because it's myself, the bride,
wow.
her mother, her maid of honor. But I think it makes it more fun because I've definitely been in meetings or where they'll bring up an idea that I didn't think of. And when it comes to, Pinterest and Instagram, I think a lot of that, I have to educate a lot because I have brides that show me this, over the top elaborate design, and they're like, that's exactly what I want. And I'm like, your budget doesn't allow for that. So educating is a huge part of the wedding planning process as well.
Right. So with education, like are you educating the parents as well?
Yes. So I do still have my couples where the parents are hosting the wedding. So when the parents are involved with hosting the wedding, they have a lot more say. And it's the parents who always want to invite a million more guests than the couple really wants. So of course the budget's going to go towards food and beverage more than other things. But yeah.
So with that, it's like, do you still see the same excitement within the parents? Like, because the parents might have got married 30 years ago
Yeah.
versus now, like, are they more excited to catch up on a digital trend?
They're so excited and sometimes a little too excited
Huh.
where I'm like, should we ask the couple what they want? Or are
Oh
you guys
my
making the
gosh.
final decision? So yeah, sometimes they get too excited. And I feel like the moms feel like it's their wedding 2.0.
Right.
Which I embrace them because I already know I'm going to be that crazy mom planning her daughter's wedding.
Sure.
So I embrace the crazy mothers because I am a future crazy mother. So.
Right. It's like a refreshment of like, we're just going to redo this 30 years from now.
Exactly. That's what they feel. And of course they want the best for their kids.
Right.
I get it.
Right. So what are some of your advices for couples that are planning their own weddings?
Planning their own weddings. I always, first of all, budget is going to determine everything. And when it comes to the guest list, I feel like people get excited and they feel like they have to invite everyone. And I always say don't. I always say look at each guest. If you're not willing to take them to lunch or dinner for $250+ maybe think about it twice about inviting them to their wedding. How have they played a role in your relationship in your life? If you haven't talked to them in 6 years, do they need to be at the wedding? Maybe not. Are they going to be offended? Maybe not. But that's really going to make or break the budget is the amount of guests they have first of all.
Yeah, and I think it's in your perspective, is it to not have a wedding planner? Is that not like to not do type of thing? Like, does it? Because I know a lot of couples still don't have wedding planners.
They don't.
Especially with us in
Sure.
the videography world. I'm like, this is such a necessary need.
It really is. And In their defense, when I got married almost 10 years ago, I couldn't afford my service. So having a wedding planner or a coordinator it's a luxury item. Could a wedding happen without us? Absolutely. Will it happen smoothly and successfully? Maybe not. I always stress the importance. So I do mostly full planning. I want to be involved with every little aspect of the wedding. I want the couples, sometimes before they even get the venue, I want to be like their first point of contact. But we also offer wedding day coordination.
Okay.
And if anything, I find that service to be very important. There are couples out there that are easily could plan their own wedding and do a great job at it. But those last few months leading up to the wedding, we need to step in and get you organized and make sure you have everything done for the wedding, especially the day of. You don't want your family members or friends setting up things for you. Your coordinator is going to do that. Your coordinator is going to make sure people arrive on time. You get down just all the little logistics. So I always stress that that's a very important service if you can't afford a full service wedding planner.
Right. Now, do you see, being in analytics, like loving analytics, now do you see when couples are planning their wedding, does it end up being much more costly than without a wedding planner versus a wedding planner? Because a lot of it's like they don't know where to go, they don't know the vendors, they don't know the type of resources. Do you see it as more like, because you're trying to save a penny, but you're costing yourself $1, right? In that sense.
Exactly. Well, I think it could be twofold, because when having a planner, we are going to introduce ideas that we think you should be doing. Therefore, those ideas cost more money.
Right.
But in the same breath, yes, because especially for the established planners and coordinators, when they've been in business for so long and when they've referred a certain wedding professional so many times, that professional is going to offer their clients a discount. So there's a handful of wedding professionals we work with that are willing to extend our clients a discount. So that is the advantage of having a wedding planner or a coordinator. Plus, to me, time is money. So the time it takes to research one little thing, it's worth it. It's worth it to just bite the bullet, invite 10 less guests,
Right.
and hire a coordinator or planner.
Right. And it's like, there's, even with that, it's like right now in 2018, there's so many resources online where you're able to kind of find a lot of these things, right? And it's like, what are some of your best resources for people to kind of study and research as they're, I think with now, it's like people are planning their weddings 2 years ahead.
They are, yeah. Although this year was weird. I'm seeing shorter engagements, actually. At least this year. I don't know about next year. Next year's already looking like people are planning in advance, but this year was weird. When it comes to resources, I find it's hard. I find there's mixed messages out there. And it's funny, I could tell the couples who read an article on The Knot or who read an article from this magazine, and because they'll be like, well, we're supposed to do this in this amount of time. And I'm like, no, you have time for that. Or the average wedding cost. And I'm like, okay, when they spit those numbers at me, I know they did some reading.
Right.
So yeah, it's hard because there's so many mixed messages. I don't mind when couples reach out to me for a question. I would rather you go to the source than just reading all these different articles online.
Right, because I think your experience within doing of it is much more valuable than reading a blog.
Well, absolutely. No, don't get me wrong. I definitely see the value in blogs. I mean, there's a ton of great things. I mean, I still am constantly listening to webinars and reading blogs because I'm still learning from those sources as well. So I'm not saying don't do that. But when you read those, a lot of times it's not specific to a market. It's just broad weddings. So when people are like, the average cost of a wedding, well, where is that average cost?
Right,
is that specific to Vegas? Is that back east?
So LA, New York.
Exactly. So
Got it.
That's what's challenging about those type of sources. It's broad. It's not specific to the market.
Now, do you feel like there's a lot of, within like resources like The Knot or Wedding Wire, do you feel like there are limited sources in the cities itself? Just going back on that, like, is there a Las Vegas wedding blog?
I don't know. I think there have been attempts to have one, but there's not like a big one on a national level. Like, for example, Green Wedding Shoes is specific to California, where we don't have one specific to Vegas.
Right. Now, you're based in Vegas, but you don't only service Vegas, right?
Correct. I travel. I always say I'll travel for love. So wherever you're willing to take me, I will go.
Right. Where have some of your favorite places been?
So I've been doing a ton in California, and I can't, like, I want to say they're all my favorite. And it's just because the experience, one, has been great. And it's been just refreshing and kind of giving me this boost of momentum and energy just because it's something different. So it's presented like challenges, but good challenges, where a wedding out here, it's like, okay, I've been to that venue a million times. I know what to do, who to see, what time, everything. Where California, it's completely new for me. So so all the destinations weddings I've done so far have been in California, but I think my favorite one will be this November. I'll be at Pelican Hill in Newport, which is just this gorgeous, iconic, luxury, top of the line hotel that I've always loved from afar. So the fact that I get to actually plan a wedding there, I'm really excited about that.
Wow. And I think what you were saying earlier is just the challenge of the unknown, right?
The challenge of the unknown. And, I went out there super nervous to meet the venue and to meet the team of wedding professionals out there, because I was worried they're going to be like, who's this little planner from Vegas? Because, OC, they have some incredible talent out there. But everyone was so welcoming, and we have a killer team going on. So, it worked out.
That's awesome. And it's like, just being in a new environment kind of sparks a lot of your creativity because
for sure,
right, being in Vegas, having done this for so many years, like you get accustomed to it. I
get accustomed to it, and it's hard because even though if I've done the design a million times, it's still new to that bride. So if I post a photo on Instagram, I'll have a bride be like, that's exactly what I want. And it's like, oh, I just did that. But to her, it's new. To me, it's not. But to her, it's new. Right. So it's so hard. So that's what's exciting about going at a market and just designing at a new, completely different space and venue that I've never done before.
Right. And going back to Instagram now, when are a lot of your brides and a lot of your couples, are they screenshotting you like every single thing that they see?
All the time.
Okay.
All the time. And not even just from mine, from other planners' Instagrams, which I don't mind because there's amazing planners out here that are doing beautiful weddings, to florists here and out of town. Oh yeah, it's like screenshot city.
Right. Now, it's like that in itself is like such a great education for yourself, right? Because you're seeing everything that's different, that's new.
Well, and it kind of helps me know like where they're looking too, because I'm still blown away that brides are shopping on Instagram. Like I never thought that'd be a thing.
Shopping?
Like shopping, like I get so many leads from Instagram that I would think that they would hit my website before they hit my Instagram, but that's not the case. They're hitting my Instagram first.
That's interesting.
It's very interesting. So when they're sending me screenshots, it helps me see like where they're looking too. And I feel like the tags are how people are finding other things. People being tagged in each other's photos.
So I mean, in that sense, it's like that's a whole different side of digital marketing where you're not expected to, like, for some reason they're not coming to your website, but they're going to your Instagram, right? Like, how do you, in that sense, like how are the brides like coming to you? Like, are they genuinely like interested in your service, or are they kind of picking your brain?
I feel, and just from what I've seen, I feel like there's 3 areas brides are looking. I feel like they look at 3 platforms before they for one person, before they decide like, okay, I want to reach out to them. So I think that's Instagram, website, and either like a preferred vendor list or word of mouth. So I feel like it takes those 3 things to get them to finally send the email. Like, hey, I'm interested in your services. But I feel like Instagram's the first stop a lot of times.
That's so interesting, right? Because I do you see a lot of wedding planners using Instagram as well, like as heavy as in heavy sense of you do? Okay.
Oh yeah, we talk about it. We have a wedding planner group that meets regularly just to kind of talk shop and business, and we find like that's a huge resource for us. So we all see the value in posting at least once a day and connecting with people, because that's where they're looking. And I mean, they'll DM me and just be like, hey, I've been following your work and now I'm engaged. Like, let's connect. And I'm like, okay, well, email me. So it's fast. It still fascinates me.
That's interesting. So top 3 would be Instagram, website, and then emails?
I think that's the last step. So I think they go to the Instagram and then they find, this is just how I feel, they find the website through Instagram.
Okay.
Then they click on the website to see more of your work.
Right.
And then they email.
So that's kind of the funnel. That's great.
That's at least that's how I'm feeling my brides. That's the route they're going.
Right.
When contacting me.
Right.
Yes.
Now, do you feel like a lot of people are still using Facebook?
No.
Yeah.
No. At least I don't find it as a great resource, although I can't say that because I haven't done my research, because I know they've added a bunch of new features and functions for Facebook Business, but I have yet to receive a lead from Facebook
Right.
through my business page.
And that's interesting. It's a really good side note to have. Like, a lot of people really aren't focusing on the bigger aspect of Instagram, right?
I don't think so. I think because Instagram is more instant gratification. They
Right.
see what they like. They're like, that's what I want. Let me contact everyone involved in that photo and see if they could be my team. It's instant. Where Facebook, I feel like you have to do a little bit more researching. It's a few more clicks to get to the photo albums or to find an email or...
Right.
I feel like you could showcase your personality more too on Instagram because of the Insta stories and how you caption a photo.
Right. It's, you're really cultivating that relationship, and it's like you don't know who your followers are. Like,
No,
in a
you
case
don't.
where someone might be DMing you, following you overly random for a year.
They do.
And it's like, oh, I'm getting married.
Yes.
But it's cultivating that relationship, and I think that's what's so amazing about like the digital age right now.
Well, yeah, it's like your walking, talking portfolio. Like, we don't have to have these tangible portfolios anymore. We're showing everyone daily what we can do and who we are.
So going back to that, what was the portfolio like 10 years ago?
Good question. So I didn't have to focus on that as much because I wasn't the owner. But I feel like that's where websites, and I could be wrong, this is just my experience, but I feel like that's where websites, people were really focusing on the websites because you had your testimonials on there, the galleries, about me. So I feel like that was the portfolio 10 years ago.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because like, and on the wedding planning side, it really isn't as visual as I think we think about it, right? Because they're not really getting to see your videos, they're not going to really see your photos, but it's the what's that word? When it's like the curation of everything that you put within the preferred vendors and within the photographers, and that's how like they really build that vision with you. But it's like when someone reaches out to you, it's hard. Like, is it hard for you to explain what the day would be or the process would be, and is it a long call?
It is a long call. So most of my consultations are at least 30 minutes because a lot of times people don't know what a wedding planner does. Like,
Right.
And I have to explain, like, we do so much more than, stand in a corner with a clipboard looking like J-Lo. Like, no, I am on the ground sweating,
my gosh.
bustling your dress, steaming linens. So explaining all of that and the value of why you should hire a wedding planner and what we do and the lengths we go to make sure the day is great. I'll never say perfect because there's no such thing as a perfect wedding day, but to make sure it goes great. So I think just, again, it's so much education when it comes to budget and services. And I get asked all the time, like, so what do you do, or why do I need you? So yeah, it is a lengthy process, and that's why I insist on always having a phone consultation. I'll never just give price randomly because I don't know what to quote you if I don't know what you need.
Right.
So
Now, going back to education, like, how are you consistently educating yourself within everything that's happening in the industry?
yeah, you just keeping up with trends for sure. Business things. I again look. I do read blogs, and I started again reading books. Has been like a huge resource for me. Webinars and hearing how other markets are doing. And that's why I love the webinars, because I'm able to hear other wedding planners and professionals in different markets and how they're doing things.
So if somebody was new, trying to get into the wedding planning industry, like what would your advice to them be?
Network your butt off.
Okay.
I feel like those connections are what make you thrive. People want to work with people they like, and people that are talented, and people that they know are going to hustle and get the job done. So I think those connections, so that's the biggest thing, is just getting your name out there. And a lot of times that comes with having to do work for free, or a wedding for free, or assisting for free. But again, that's only going to help you in the long run.
Right. And it's like, it's the interpersonal relationship that you build. And I think that's what makes this industry so unique.
Yes.
Right. It's because it's like, it's not just advertising, it's not just marketing, but it's the relationship, because it's like you said, it takes a team to make everything come together.
It's so true. I mean, I feel like me and you are a perfect example. The first time we met was the first wedding we ever did together. And I'm going to say it was love at first sight. And we've kept in touch ever since. And because we had this great first impression of each other. So again, that's what's going to get people far.
Right. And just going back to that, it's like I think you've helped me so much over the last, it's been 2 years?
I think, yeah, 2 going on 3.
Right. It lasts like we don't see each other much, but it's the relationship that we keep, and it's like we go back for advice, we go back for kind of just commentary or things that are happening, and it's
absolutely. So yeah, I just feel like those relationships are everything.
Right.
They really are. You can't just sit around wondering when the leads are going to come in. You got to go out there and work for it, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's what like makes Vegas so unique. It's not like LA, New York, where leads are essentially like flooding towards you.
And I don't feel like we're super oversaturated in things yet either.
Right.
So
now going back to that, it's like what do you think makes Vegas such a destination place for other couples throughout the world to really hone in and want to get married here? But it's not the chapel weddings, but it's more of the destination weddings that you do and that we do. Like what makes you think it's such an attractive place?
When I talk to couples, and I'm going to back up what you said, and that's absolutely correct. It's still interesting to me 11 years later that couples come out here and they don't want the chapel Vegas. I mean, so many of my couples are like, we want to get married in Vegas, but we don't want it to feel like Vegas. And I'm like, that's so interesting because like, I'm sure there's a beach in your hometown or there's, I think they choose Vegas because it feels a little bit edgy but you still feel like it's like this cozy wedding feeling. They also choose Vegas because it's easy to fly to. And it's a good destination for their guests without sending them out of the country. So I always find that couples say they find it convenient to get to Vegas no matter where you're from. So I think that's a huge thing too. I will be honest though, I do feel like Vegas has fallen off the map a little bit when it comes to being like one of the top destination places. And I think our people are still getting used to the fact that Las Vegas isn't home of the 99-cent steak and eggs anymore. Like we've grown, we have exquisite chefs and exquisite designers out here, and restaurants and hotels, and so we're not that market anymore. So I think that's why a lot of people are choosing other markets as well.
Yeah, it's like the culture of Vegas over the last like 4 or 5 years has just grown so exponentially. Where it's you don't. If you came here 10 years ago and you haven't been here in 10 years, you just wouldn't recognize it, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't recognize it. And I still think we have to fight hard out here in our wedding industry to show that we could do these big, beautiful weddings. Because even when you say like, oh, I'm a wedding planner in Vegas, they like instantly think of a chapel with showgirls and Elvis. And I'm like, I never do that. Those are great. And there's people out there that do it, but my clients don't. But yeah, I think people are starting to getting used to the value of coming here because we have a lot to offer. It's a one-stop shop. You don't have to worry about entertaining your guests. They entertain themselves.
Right. Even with that, it's like, so how do we in the wedding industry, like how do we educate people? Is it something that the city we need to work with the city to improve on in terms of rebrand? Do you think Vegas needs a rebranding?
Yeah,
right.
I do. I mean, I still feel like when I see like a lot of ads, it's always like, and I mean, God bless that sign. I love it. It's who we are. But it's like, do we really need to see a bride and groom in front of the Welcome to Las Vegas sign? No. Let's put them somewhere else. There's so many beautiful places out here. Let's put them in front of Smith Center or Springs Preserve or,
Absolutely. And that's like, I think the biggest thing that people come for is like there's so much diverse landscape in Vegas.
Yes,
right.
We're not just hotels, and my couples at least aren't the typical ballroom couples. They want a unique space that they could personalize and make their own.
Right, and it's like even with that, there's the unique spaces. Like, where have some of the unique places been that you've done in Vegas?
So a lot of them, there's still hotels. So a lot of the off-strip hotels are big for my couples. So Hilton Lake Las Vegas, Red Rock Hotel, M Resort, Green Valley Ranch, JW Marriott. People are coming out of state and choosing those venues over strip hotels. Now, again, that's just my couples. But they stay on the strip. So they want that experience, but they don't want to get married on the strip.
Right.
But the advantage of that is with the hotel strip properties, they're very all-inclusive, and it's kind of a little bit more challenging to truly make your wedding your own because they're like, here's our florist, choose your bouquet. They make it a little bit more challenging to be expressive. So that's the advantage of why people are picking, I think, more off-site properties.
And it's interesting with that too, is like, even with on our side, we've done so many crazy unique weddings where it's like, it's in a mansion, but the mansion is this in this off-site property on Flamingo and Decatur where like nobody has ever seen it, but the venue is just like amazing. There's
or it's like, why aren't more weddings happening here? Yeah, it's true. But we're definitely getting more cool, like Enclave I think is a great example.
Enclave is amazing.
When Enclave came around, Meet Las Vegas is another great example of kind of having your own space and making it what you want. There's hotels out here that once upon a time it was a nightclub and now it's not, but it still has that nightclub vibe and feel, but they do events only. So how fun.
The Palms, right?
Palms, Red Rock,
That's right.
Havana Room at Tropicana are some great examples of having a nightclub wedding without it ever being a nightclub.
And it's so interesting. So let's talk about your team. Now you have 3 people there.
I have 3 girls. I'm very lucky in my situation. So with weddings, we know it's not consistent. So it's hard to say, like, I'm going to make X amount of dollars this next year and I'm going to be able to afford X, Y, and Z. I don't know that. So what I love about all my girls is they've been with us for years, way before I was the owner. So they're not new to weddings. They're not interns. I don't have to train them on things. They know what to do and how to get the job done and how it needs to be done. So they all have Monday through Friday jobs. 2 of them are mothers. They all 3 love weddings, so it's a win-win. They get their consistent paychecks from someone else, not from me, but then they still get their fill of weddings on the weekends with me. So it really works out great. I couldn't do it without them. I think I set something perfectly, and then they come and fix my work, and I'm like, how rude! It looked great. So I'm very, very thankful for them.
And that's great. And it's like you said you've been working with them for a long time. Since.
A long time. One of them, her name's Catherine. She actually does wedding day coordination through under Angelica Rose Events as well. The very first wedding she ever did, interned at, was mine, and I had no idea because she was so good. I thought she worked actually for the venue I got married at, and later I learned that Juliet, the prior owner, had brought her on to assist on my wedding, and she was amazing. So that was almost 10 years ago. So we always joke that when me and my husband celebrate our anniversary, we celebrate our friendship anniversary too.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, what does it take to develop and build that relationship with your team? Well, how are you guys communicating? What does it take to build a strong team, essentially?
Oh, gosh. It's hard. It's really hard because I think when girls go on to help with a wedding planner, it's never a long-term thing because that girl's either one, just getting her internship hours, or she goes and starts her own company. So I feel for like the newer wedding planners that are in that process of having to hire people to be on their team. Because they need to rock it out on a wedding day. They're a reflection of the owner, and if they make a mistake, that reflects on the owner. But I think just giving people time and finding the time to train them, I think, is super important. You can't just throw them into this wedding and be like, set that napkin up this way. Well, what if they don't know that napkin fold? So I think, and what helps with that, I think, is like kind of staffing heavy in the beginning, and whether that's having, X amount of interns. That way the owner could take a little bit of time to nourish her team and help them grow and train them.
So now, going back to that, like how do you train your team when it's just a day of event, right? Like, because it's not like a 9 to 5 thing where they're here every day.
Not. I think it's what role do you want them to have in the company? Like, for example, Catherine, I mean, she's done a bazillion wedding day coordinations with me now. She's shadowed, she's worked them, she's done them on her own, that she knows how to not only get the job done, but how I expect it to be. So again, just time. But when it comes to the other people, I think even just like having like a monthly meetup, or this is what's going to happen, especially for a big wedding, like we'll have a team meeting if it's going to be a huge wedding and just go over every detail and specifying like, okay, this is your role the wedding day, this is what you do at this time. So just timing and communication is key.
Right. Now, within all that, are you using any apps to communicate?
No, we're not actually.
Wow.
I know there's like a walkie-talkie app, I believe.
Oh, that's cool.
We have walkie-talkies. We've only really used them for big weddings, but we really just kind of group chat text. I know that's nothing exciting or thrilling or new, but on a wedding day, that's just how we communicate.
Ah, interesting. So for us, we use Slack. I don't know if you ever
Oh,
use.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. You could share documents through Slack and timelines. Yes.
And I think that's such a great tool. And it's like I think in the wedding industry, it's like one of my main goals coming into it was making it more like techie.
Yes.
But not
see,
just
you're
like
good at that.
Yeah.
You know, like that T word, like gives me anxiety.
Right.
So you're good at that stuff, though, Kenny.
Yeah, and I think for us, is like for me, it simplifies things in so many sense where like sometimes group checks are overwhelming.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I think it just works for us because at this point, we all know how each other works.
Right.
We all know what to expect and what gets done. And they're in my brain. I always say they're all a part of my brain because they already know what I'm thinking before I even have to say it.
Right.
But not everyone's like that. So I do like apps like Slack or in-person meetings so people know like even how to read a timeline or just keeping in touch with each other.
Yeah. So with brides, with couples that aren't local, how early are you, like how many days before the wedding are you like meeting them in person? Is that a thing?
It's definitely a thing. So I'm lucky where most of my couples, they'll come in town a couple times before the actual wedding. So when they're in town most of them are in town for at least 2 days. We get a ton of planning in those 2 days, and those 2 days are important to have so they can meet with their team in person. A lot of times they will hire without meeting them, but there's always a phone consultation or a Skype call. I always want them to talk to a wedding professional before they actually hire them. Because I think that personality and that connection is important. But they do make it an effort to come in town and do some planning, but most of the planning is done through email. I use IO Planner, which is a great resource for me and my brides. I love it because it helps couples know like what's coming, what to expect, what still needs to be paid. If they need to refer to a contract, all their contracts are uploaded in there. So that's been a great resource specifically for my out-of-town couples.
Very cool. And you said it was IO Planner? Okay.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what do you see happening in 2019 and above? You know?
Yeah, for just the industry,
for yourself, for the industry, for being a mother, like what's for you as a whole?
Yeah, for me as a whole, well, a huge goal of mine is to take a little bit less weddings. On average, we're doing about 20. I would love to get that number down to 15. So that's a huge goal of mine and something I would like to see for our company in the future. And I would also love to delegate more to my team. So maybe start putting more of the weddings on them, more wedding day coordination weddings for them, getting them involved more in the full planning weddings. I would love that because isn't that the goal of the owner, to kind of truly feel like the owner?
Right.
For our industry, I think, again, like Vegas is just always going to be a desired destination. And as always, it's ebb and flow. Like we have our years where it's like no one's coming here. Where are all the brides? And then all of a sudden it picks up. Like they're always going to be there. They're always going to be there, which is nice. And I think Vegas is still growing. Look at Mandarin Oriental, for example, is changing to Waldorf. I think we're going to continually see changes and growth in our city, which is only going to bring more people out here. I mean, we have the Raiders coming. Our Golden Knights are kicking butt. So I think those are only adding more reasons for people to come here.
Right. So for yourself, you want to be more on the owner side, less on the operator side.
Yeah. I wear too many hats.
Yes.
And I would love to take at least 1.5 hats off, maybe.
Right.
Although because I love it so much, I don't mind it. But still, I would love to take a step back every now and then.
You know, and I think that's like everyone's biggest complex as like owners. Like you still love, but you
love it so much.
Right.
Yeah, like so Catherine, I had mentioned her, she does wedding day coordination on her own. When she's like working with her couple, like I still want to be copied on all the emails because I want to know what's going on. But maybe that's something I could let go.
And it's, I've learned to accept that in a sense where it's like, you're still in it because you love it. right?
Yes,
And it's just
yes.
still your passion for.
It is.
Even when my team always tells me like you gotta step back on like shooting,
Yeah.
but I'm like I still love it, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Like it's still such
That's
a
the thing. Like we
Yeah.
love it. We live for it. We breathe it. And I know the day I stop being nervous before every wedding is the day I'm not in love with it anymore.
Right.
So
right. But it's just more so like as you grow and you get bigger,
Yeah.
it's more so about the balance, right?
balance, exactly.
Yeah. So for 2019, are you expected to kind of pick up more staff?
No, I don't. No, I don't want to pick up more stuff. I love staying just like small boutique, quality over quantity for us.
Great.
We have 4 weddings on the books for next year already, so that's good for us. So no, I think I don't want to add to the team at all. And the goal is, of course, more full planning versus wedding day coordination weddings too. So
Right. And it's still great to see you have so much fire within it.
I love it. Yes, I do.
That's great. So
Yeah.
for prospective couples that are looking to in 2019, 2020, where can they find you?
Yes. Everywhere. So you could find me, of course, Instagram, Angelica Rose Events, Twitter, Angelica Rose, LV, Facebook, Angelica Rose Events, or you could email me, angelica@angelicaroseevents.com. That's not long or excessive at all, but that's where they could find me, and I would love to hear from them. And again, I'm an open book. Even if you just have a question, I'm here. I'll always respond.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kenny, for having me.
Just wanted to thank our guest Angelica for coming on the show. If you guys found major insights with this episode, if you're planning a wedding, if you're 2 years out and you found this conversation to be useful, please take a moment and reach out to her. She's super available on Instagram, on Twitter. She'll directly give you her phone number. That's just how friendly she is. And she'll help you break down all the necessities, get the stress out of your mind. And if you guys are 2 years ahead, that's wonderful. We're so happy for you. As videographers ourselves and as wedding planners in the industry, we're always more than happy to help. If you guys liked the episode, please take a moment of time to rate us on iTunes. It will really help us on the charts and help us share more valuable information throughout our listeners and be seen more. We love you guys. We thank you guys for listening, and we want to share this positivity and message throughout the world. And always follow us on social. I'm pretty active, so reach me anytime. See ya.